person in the room cannot help you directly, they may know someone who can, right? So you see how she just mentioned her thing. She's like, oh, I'm thinking of doing it here. And Sarah's like, I have a big garden. Even if she didn't, maybe she will know someone who can, right? So I feel like we should, to an extent, obviously we have to be discerning about who we tell things to. If not, people will say discouraging things like, that will just kill your motivation. But I feel like we should, as women especially, because what I notice about men, like the men who I know, my brothers, my male friends, they talk, they meet each other, they say, Charlie, they work on this project, someone who, next thing you know, the guy is like, I know this person, they're looking to invest in some business, done. But with us, I feel like we're all being very superstitious, very secretive. Guarded. I don't want to tell, protective of some of our ideas, because we think if I tell this woman my idea, she'll steal it. But your friend Penny always says that ideas mean nothing. And I agree, like if you've not executed it doesn't mean much. Even if it is a small thing, it's okay. Like,
you need to start from somewhere.
Yeah, and I feel like with women, I'm always talking about women, but it's true, like, if, excuse me to say, a guy would have some random business idea that's not that deep, but if you hear the way they talk about it, you would think that like $1 million business, right? When you go and there's some small kiosks, like you get it. So I'm like, we need to get out of the mindset that, and in fact, as women, even how we introduce ourselves, that's why I keep pushing everyone. You should be able to say, I am the XYZ of, do you understand? Because sometimes, fortunately or unfortunately, sometimes people need to hear these things. Because it helps you build credibility, it helps people think, oh, I need to talk to this person because this person can help me do this. But if you minimize yourself, then nobody gets that, right?
About the sharing, I had this interesting experience where quite a big ice cream maker in Accra wanted to work with me on my chocolate brand, right? And I was like, oh, why? So we had our first meeting, and he's talking about things we can do, and I'm like, he hasn't even tasted the chocolate. I don't know. So I asked him, and I said, don't you want to have a taste first? And he said, well, yeah, I will, but I'm not concerned about that because I followed you for some time, and I like your authenticity. And he says, when you make mistakes in the kitchen, you post it, which is it's strange because others don't do it. You post other chocolate brands. Other people don't do it. And he mentioned all these things that I never thought about because I just, and it's interesting what people pick up on things and they take as, this is somebody I want to work with, this is somebody I want to support, So even your failures, your recipes, I share a lot of things. People want to protect it, but I just think there's other blessing that comes when you just put stuff out there.
Absolutely. That's really interesting. I love that authenticity. I hate that statement. Women are their worst enemy. It's not true. It's not true. Because for me, I find that it's women who've always supported me. Like even the women who I never even expect to support me, right? And I also think that it goes back to what Nana is saying about showing up as yourself, right? It's true that showing up as yourself may not be for everyone. Like some people will be like, ugh, I can't deal, And there'll be some people who feel like, oh my God, I love this person's energy, right? But if you don't show up as yourself, you won't find the people who are actually right for you. You get it. You will just keep attracting the people who they're not your people. And eventually when they start treating you badly, you would blame them, but it's actually not their fault. You kind of misrepresented yourself. So for me, I also hope that in the coming year, that's something that I constantly remember, that just be yourself, be authentic. Even your mistakes are inspiring to people. I get so many DMs and I'm like, wow, like on the most random things, and it just kind of encourages me that I just keep doing what you're doing. Somebody in the corner of the earth or in the corner of the world is looking at it and thinking, oh my God, I'm so inspired by this specific thing. So I hope that we all learn from that, right? Someone said something about choices, right? I think when we were talking about how our year has gone, and I even asked Frances this question early in the morning just as a food for thought. Are the choices you're making, right, are they solely for yourself or for others? So even before you answer, pause. Like, think deep, right? Because I know you want to say, these choices are for me, these goals are for me, but ask yourself deeply, every single choice you make, every single goal you set, is there a hidden reason? It could be enemies even, like trying to put your enemies to shame. It could even be your parents, wanting to make your parents proud, right? It could be anything. It could be, I don't know, competing with someone at work, right? It could be anything. But do you honestly think that the goals you're setting and the choices you're making, like, are they influenced solely by yourself and your needs, or are they influenced by something else within your environment, or even someone else, or even a situation from your childhood?
I think for me, when growing up and everything, my parents has always given us that room to be yourself and have your own voice and make your own decisions. A lot of Ghanaian parents don't do that.
Yeah.
So the way I show up is as a result of how I've been raised, because I could do whatever it is that I wanted. And so I would say in my 20s, I was doing a lot for myself. Like the courses I would do, I remember when we finished SHS, I got law school in tech. And then I still applied for Legon, and I got Legon. I was like, I'm not going to Kumasi. I've never lived outside of Accra. I'm not doing that. And I just made the decision. And my parents were like, hey, a lawyer, because that's what they had in their mind. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And I have been consistent in that route of making things that make me happy. But in my 30s, something changed. Like when you asked me that question, I started really thinking about it. In my 30s, I started, thinking more about other people. And
in
how,
what sense?
because I felt like I was being selfish.
Okay.
I think that's where it came from the thought that I needed to put others before my needs. Especially when you also get married. I think that you start to feel like you have another person with you now, and you cannot be all about you. So you need to start giving that room to also have their decisions or their life also matter.
Right.
So I'm seeing that there's an influence coming from not just my husband to say it, but like now I'm making decisions that is also based on making the people around me feel good and safe, and not just taking decisions for myself.
Okay.
But it's also now helping me to balance. It's about balance. I think life now for me has been more about the balance of not the extreme of only me doing everything about me, but how do I make sure I am also not lost in that. And I think last year that's what it was. I was so lost because I wasn't showing up as who I've known myself to be. But now I am finding that it's okay to make decisions about others, but if it's not serving me as well and making me this sad, then something needs to change. And that's what.
Does anyone have like a different view from what she said?
I will say, as the first daughter, right? There's this weight that comes with being perfect, because you're setting the example for your siblings. And for me, that's how I made my decisions growing up.
Okay.
A lot of that was guided by the fact that whatever decision I made, my siblings were going to
mirror
be exactly. But now, completely opposite. I'm living in the fact that I want to be fulfilled.
Okay.
I feel like happiness is very fleeting.
Okay.
But when you chase fulfillment, it's kind of like your compass. It determines every other decision you make in your life. So for example, you might have a milestone and say that you want to get to a certain level. But when you are truly fulfilled in who you are and you know exactly who you are, you find that maybe I don't even need this in the first place, right? So I would say it's
Yours is flipped.
exactly
Flipped, right? Okay, so what about one of you sent this question to me, and I was like, oh, I need to know the answer to this question. So what do you do to self-motivate or energize yourself so you don't feel bored professionally? Or maybe was the person trying to tell me something? Perhaps. No, because I'm very open. I say this at work all the time. My bosses know. I've been saying for a long time that I feel bored. And I think it's also feel bored. I'm talking about my main career, and which is one of the reasons why I even did Vision with You in the first place, right? And it's because I realized that in my 20s, I moved around a lot in terms of career, right? Because the thing with research is that it's pretty much the same thing. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. The methodologies are the same. You do it so much that sometimes you can even predict the results. So when people come to me and say, we want to go and test this, I'm like, you don't need a test. I can tell you exactly what your consumers will say because I've just been doing it for a long time, you know. And so I was looking for the next thing, like I need the next thing, and it was making me agitated. You know, like I talk about this all the time, and I mean my bosses know. I'm always saying I'm bored. Give me something else to do. You know, I've been working on this on sub-Saharan Africa for a very long time. I know the markets. I need something that would just like excite me, right? And I think for me, I can't say that I know how to energize myself to not feel bored, apart from like following my passion projects. But someone told me something recently that stuck with me. They said that sometimes depth is also okay. And I'm realizing that I thought, okay, this person is shading me. They're telling me that maybe I'm too surface level. But I'm like, okay, let me not hang on only that. I later went home. I was like, hey, somebody can tell you one thing that will make you change, you know. But I later went home and thought about it. I was like, well, in my 20s, I think the longest I'd stayed anywhere was like maybe 2.5 years, like 2 years, 8 months, which for me was still very long. Yes, right, which was very long in my 20s, right? And now in my 30s, I'm finding that perhaps I cannot keep moving around every 2 years because it's also a lot of work having to learn, understand the company, figure out the who's who, build your credibility is a lot, right? And so for me, I'm kind of also in this phase where I'm like, maybe boredom is good, right? I'm not sure what it even looks like because being bored and having to keep the quality of your work is not always easy. Because if you're bored, you may start feeling like, oh, let me do the bare minimum, right? So that has been difficult for me. And I think one of the things that I do is that I like to do extracurricular activities at work. So if somebody's organizing something, call me. Like, if you say something about women, now they just come. They don't, something about women, oh, we need to organize this for women. Like, I'm there. Or even like our marketing trainings, it's almost become like it's a part of my job, but it isn't. It's just because I've done it before and I did well, so now they just briefed me that okay, because for me that's one of the only ways that I can. Maybe I'm also just a natural creative. I can keep myself interested, stay engaged, and all of that. But I want to also know if there are any other hacks any of you ladies use to keep you, especially those who've worked in corporate for very long. I think, Sarah, you worked in corporate for a really long time, and Nana as well. How do you keep yourself, I mean, staying in a place 7 years, I feel like it's a century. So how do you keep yourself engaged? What do you do?
So the places I worked had different business units, so you could sort of move and work across different business units. So it didn't feel like you would get bored. And also all of these social projects that you can get involved in, volunteering opportunities, women leadership opportunity trainings. But outside of corporate itself, I feel like we put too much pressure on our jobs to, like Nana said earlier, on our jobs to be everything for and to us. There's so many other interests that you can develop that will bring energy into your job. So that's how I have balanced it. Outside of the work ecosystem, I'm always trying to do something different. Like for the last 4 or 5 years, every month I have a new learning goal. And it could be skills, it could be trying to sleep better, whatever it is. And if there's a goal that takes longer than a month for me to achieve or to learn, I just roll it over. So it's more you and what you can take from your environment combined. That's how at least I have navigated that.
You don't have any other thing?
No, pretty much.
They did mention something that I think we always overlook, and I'm now seeing it from a different perspective, that in as much as your career or whatever job you're doing today is what brings you your bread, and that's where you feel like you should be spending all your day managing, she brought up something that says like, go after your passions, like other things, like you were saying something when you're introducing yourself about how you've been working so much in corporate with this expertise, and now you're bringing it back to your husband's business and probably your own businesses. It's something that I am really thinking through as well now at this stage in my life, because I realize that we always put so much work for other people, for them to earn and have stocks and shares. And then when it comes to your own thing, you don't have the energy. You're just breathing through. You think you're bored at work.
We house our own
Exactly.
stuff, whereas we go
But
all out for.
being bored at work means I have the perfect opportunity to now channel that extra energy into my own thing. And when you just said, I was like, okay, this is
Eureka moment.
Eureka, yeah. It's like, why not channel it into something that you are passionate? It may not be a business, but putting it into another thing that is, gives you more fulfillment and makes you feel energized, probably even will make you show up better at the work that you do. You don't have to be doing 5 things, but just do what you're doing well enough. And I think that also...
Yeah, jumping on that with my next question, I think is the perfect question. So how have your career goals or expectations of your career evolved? 20s versus 30s versus 40s. I think I'll let Nana take that one. That's the perfect response.
I think I'm the only one in my 40s around the table, so yeah, senior citizen privileges. It's shifted massively. Coming out of grad school, or I've studied economics, and when you study economics, everybody's talking about either the World Bank or African Development Bank. These are the places you want to be working at. I've interviewed at these places. I never got jobs there.
Oh, wow.
And till now,
in your 20s, you mean? Or ever?
30s also, yeah. Because I just thought it's such a nice thing to have on your CV.
Right.
And you get to a place where, why do I care so much? It actually doesn't really matter. So I think for me the big shift has been, even last year, till middle of this year, when I was working with the UN, there was so much forced pride I felt because my dad worked with the UN, retired from the UN. I was like honoring him, and I have friends in the UN, and I thought, the UN, and I'm finally in this club. And then I'm there, and it's like, okay. No, it's really not all that. I think what I've learned to appreciate is, and thank goodness I had this company that allowed me to go and explore. It may not be, the big brands, but there's when you're valued, when you enjoy the things you do, when you have opportunities to go. In fact, the company encourages every 5 years to move to a different project or a different country. Little things like that, I feel, fulfills you.
Right.
And I'm really at a point now where, yes, I'm moving into, I still have another 20 years or so before retirement, but it's really being intentional about the kind of work I'm doing and the kind of environment I'm in. Matters more than climbing up this ladder. I don't really have those goals anymore of I want to be director and this and that. It's lost, and I don't know. And I have friends who said, "But what happened to you? You used to be the one that used to."
What happened?
Yeah, what happened? I think there are a number of things. Having a child for me also changed things a bit for me. Yeah, my kid is always like, even when you're here, you're not here. So my priorities shifted a bit. The pandemic was a big thing for me. I went through a whole life change, where smaller things were so meaningful for me than, all this, than chasing this thing. As long as I feel financially stable, I think that's my...
For you.
What do you call it? My baseline. Yeah, I don't want to struggle about where my next meal is coming from. That's really my threshold.
Goal, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot I can endure if I know those fundamentals are fine.
I love that, because I thought, is it normal for you to shift goals? Because I think it's going back to pressure and you feeling like, when I was in my 20s, I had this goal. I want to be CEO. I want to be this. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, is that really what I want?
Yeah.
It's like it's changed. I don't want that anymore. But then you start to feel a certain level of guilt
That you're not being
but I'm not being as
enough.
ambitious as I should be,
Yeah.
right? And I see all of these girls my age who are, still climbing up, and I am just like,
Been there, done that.
I'm okay. I've experienced it
Yeah.
all. Like, I don't want to have the pressure of politics and all of that. It's too much.
It's too much, because now you have also more insights into what it takes to actually
it's
do
a lot.
at that
Yeah, level,
It's crazy.
And I think balance, like I said, for me, it's more about balance now. Like, if I can balance work life and social life and be okay, it's better. But if I chase that higher goal and I lose that balance, I'm going to be worse off.
But I mean, just so that the people don't think that we are saying they shouldn't be ambitious.
Clarify,
I
please.
think that for me, goals are important. And we've had this conversation several times where I also, when I started my career in my 20s, I'm like, I need to be MD by 35. Hey, I'm not anywhere close to that. But what I've also noticed is that it's in phases, right? It's even possible that maybe when you get back into employment, you may get that, that ambition back. Maybe at some point, maybe in your 50s. You may start feeling like, well, maybe I want to lead a big organization, and then you put in the work to do it. I think what we are trying to say here is that you should just be authentic about your goals. That whatever goal you set shouldn't be because you think it's expected of you. It's like almost like the next logical step. Almost even like how some people get married. They feel like, okay, I'm at this age, I've been dating this person for a while, I need to marry them, right? Or I've been in my career for X amount of years, I need to, become a director, or I need to go and kill myself, roll over, contort myself to be an MD, right? Perhaps maybe that's not even what lights you up, right? So I think the point is not to say, okay, don't be ambitious. It's just that you need to be true to yourself. If truly you're not someone who wants to become an MD, that's also fine. You find your ambition in other things, and that's okay. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I'm sure there are people who are waiting to hear us say, don't be ambitious. They'll say, I knew it. Let me just sleep and do nothing. But I don't think that's what we're trying to say.
No, I think that's really important to clarify. But also, I don't know if it's a TikTok thing or, but there are a lot of women now that seem to want to stay home. And dealing with, is there shame, is there not? I remember working with, before all this trend with the trad wives and all of that. Okay. I remember one of my, trad wife, you've heard of it? Traditional wife. They look super pretty. Those 50s kind of, they look so good, and they're cooking from scratch, and they're... Yes, exactly. So that's also something that is coming, and it's valid. It's okay. I mean, if this is what works for you, that's what works for you.
I have an unpopular opinion about that, and I know I'll probably get bashed for this, but it's not that I don't believe in, because some people don't have a choice. Maybe within their, their marriage, for example, maybe let me use marriage, they've agreed with their partner that they stay at home and take care of the child, and then the partner ends something. I know some people also don't have jobs, it's not their fault. But I don't believe in that, because I really believe that true woman empowerment is financial. You can never say you are truly empowered as a woman if you have no money. People should drag me for it. It's just a fact. It's a fact, because there are certain moves you just cannot make if you have no money of your own.
Exactly.
Right? So I get the whole trad wife thing, but for me, if you still have to ask your partner for money to do certain things, you're digging a certain, maybe not a hole, but you're getting yourself into a situation where you may one day regret it, because you imagine someone who's in an abusive marriage. Where are you going? You can't leave because you don't have money. It's just the economics of it. Where are you going to go? You cannot rent a home because you have no money. You don't have a certain. And I also find that when you have your own money to an extent, even the agency within your marriage is different, right? It's different because you have your own money. So you're not there because you have, so that even if you have an unpopular opinion, you're afraid to say it to your partner because you worry that maybe there's something you've asked for and they will say they won't give it to you, right? So, this could probably be another table. Like, we'll have to talk about it again in detail. But I truly believe that proper woman empowerment at least 95% of it is financial, it's economic. Really, maybe it's just an opinion I have.
Does it change if, say, the salary is maybe coming from the husband? So you're having money, maybe he puts money in your account, and you get to take care of the home.
For me, I still I just feel like that's still because it's about power. That's what I think. It's about power. It's where the power lies.
Yeah.
If the power lies in my employer, I know how to manage my employer so that I keep getting my salary. I also know that if for some reason I have my experience, my employer decides that for some reason we don't need you anymore, and this happens. Even if I'm out of a job for a while, I know that nobody can take my experience away, so I can apply for another job, get another job, and I can earn my money. But with a husband, if a husband is paying you a salary, the same rules of experience don't apply. Like the fact that you've been married before doesn't mean that once your husband stops giving you money or even you leave the marriage, then automatically you can, maybe I don't know all the details about how those women do it. You can just go to another marriage and then you start earning. And I think that's just a lot of, that for me, even thinking about it is stressing me, because I'm like, how would I put my entire life, depend on someone else for my, my bread and my existence? I find that it's really scary to me. But maybe there's probably an insight that I'm missing from the women who choose to do that. There's some people who don't have a choice, and I get that. But I also find that if you are in such a place and you don't have at least some form of a plan, it could be something you do as a passion that you can eventually monetize. I think that you are opening yourself up to a lot of risk because anything can actually happen. And in fact, it's not even about only wicked husbands or anything. There's also, I hate to say this, but sometimes people die. There's that as well. So God forbid if your partner passed away, and let's say if you're in that setup, your partner passed away for some reason, he didn't leave anything, you have children, then what happens? Your children have to stop going to the same school, because you may not be able to afford that lifestyle, right? So for me, it's just something that I think women need to be intentional about. And I think in Nigeria, they're doing this campaign, I can't remember what it's called, Her Money,
Her Power.
Her Money, Her Power. And I think, listen to those stories, it's so powerful because they have women from different walks of life. It's not only women in corporates, it's women who have their own businesses, women who are doing so many other things, and they're all sharing their own perspectives on this. And I think, for me, I don't know, I don't think I'll ever get to the point where I think it is okay as a woman to be completely taken care of by another person unless maybe you are putting some of that money somewhere. But I really believe that true financial empowerment true woman empowerment is financial. What were your biggest time wasters this year when it came to achieving your goals, and how do you think you can limit them going forward? What are some of the things that really wasted your time? Let me start. Ghanaian artisans. For me, that's the end. I won't even say much about it. I felt like they just stressed my life.
For me, it was probably anxiety.
Okay, tell us more.
Just wondering what was going to happen next.
Okay.
It just wasn't worth it. Yeah. And in hindsight, when I look back, I'm just like, why was I worried? But it feels good to also overcome it. Yeah.
Okay, and how did you overcome it?
I think it was really getting to a point where I just felt like everything was going to be okay. Like I needed to surrender. Like the things that I have control of, just doing like a situational analysis. What do I have control over? What don't I have control over? The things that I have control over, I'm just going to do my best. The things that I do not have control over, let me just leave it as it is and just.
So I was just dwelling on, okay, I'm just coming out of this. Let me give myself time. Okay, I'm not strong enough. Okay, let me just be quiet a bit and reflect on the past. But hey, time doesn't wait for anybody. Yes, even though sometimes you go through like a phase and it's a bit hard on you, But I think that don't dwell so much on it. Think about ways to bounce back. What do you need to bounce back? How do you bounce back? So also not bouncing back too hard so that you lose yourself at some point. So for me, this year has been a bit, not, I won't say slow, but it has been a bit quiet for me. First half of the year, because I was also dwelling on exactly how my year went. At some point, having a child that's growth restricted, that's what the doctors termed it, and bringing out everything out of me financially to say that I'm going to make sure my child survives, myself, I survive. And also, just a week before this child comes out, you lose your job. And it was a lot for me. So for me this year, I think that I spent too much time, even though yes, it was harsh, but I would say it was wrong. Too much time dwelling on it. Yes, you've come out of it, you're successful. You have to keep the strength and keep moving. So yeah.
I'm going to shuffle these cards. I feel like I'm the only one asking the questions. So I'm going to shuffle the cards, and then we will go around, we pick a card, and then you answer the card you pick. If you really, really, really feel like you can't answer the question, we will allow you to pick one other. But I don't think you can do two skips in one round. That doesn't make sense. Does the rule make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, someone said I should stop asking if something makes sense. I'm a work in progress. Oops, who can help me with? Okay, so should we shuffle? I feel like I'm going to add these ones to it.
For me, like, I learned that hack, I think about 2 years ago. I don't do certain things.
At all?
At all.
So like what, cooking, cleaning, all of that?
Girl,
No, but say it, like, no, we shouldn't edit it out. You know why? Because earlier I was telling them how, I mean, in my house, kenke is a staple. Kenke is a hack. When they ask me what is the hack, I said, kenke is the hack. Because my husband can eat kenke every day, you know? And really, like I said, this year, I've just realized that if I'm going to do something, I have to trade off something.
Yeah.
The cleaning, the cooking, already I don't like to do them.
Yeah.
And now I don't even have the time to do them.
Yeah.
But I find that even though my husband is very understanding, I hope, I still feel guilty. There's a certain inner guilt. No matter if he got up and went to cook or we got home from work and he tidied up, I always feel this inner guilt. But I don't know where it's from. I'm guessing from the society.
Exactly. As a woman, it's almost as if you're brought up to do these
To be a slave.
Exactly. We are, yeah. Actually true. Because now that I even think about it, it's almost like as you're growing, they tell you to do certain things because because you have to do them in your husband's house.
Yes, yeah. I used to fight with my mom and my grandma because of that. Because even at the time when I didn't really understand what's marriage or anything, they'll tell you, when you go, your husband, everything, your husband will beat you, your husband will throw you out, your husband will throw me out of our communal home. Empowered, I'm like very assertive. I say what I think. Even me, I still feel that there's a certain, like a tinge of guilt that just pops up. It doesn't mean I'll still do the thing, but it's programming. Like, cause you know, if we both come from work, we're both tired, you know, and he's doing something. Sometimes I feel like, I should also be doing. You get, but it's okay. Like he went to work, I went to work. Yeah. So why is it that I feel some guilt? And sometimes my husband would annoy me, but last time he was saying, every day you're on Instagram looking at recipes. Learn from your mates. Like, you know, he was just teasing me. Everyday recipes. Learn from your mates. When will you also come in? You know, and we laugh about it, but it's just like getting past that guilt. And me, I'm all for, you know, hiring people to also do the work. Yeah. But Ghanaian artisans did not, I don't know what to call them, informal workers or artisans. They did not help me this year because I really had the mindset to use whatever, cleaner, cook, whatever. I just did not find the right one.
Deeply
involved.
Supervised.
Like you're sitting there with your laptop, okay, clean behind the frame.
Yeah.
You can't leave
it defeats the purpose, you know. Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that's why a lot of the times the men are also getting ahead because the women in their lives are doing the cleaning and cooking. But that's another campaign. I won't get there. I won't get into it. So you've shuffled the cards. So where should we start from? Let's start from Sarah. While we eat, you pick a card. You're not picking from the top, eh? You pick a card. You read out the question.
Oh. Okay. Should I go? How did I support or uplift other women this year, and how did it impact me? Okay. So I teach a weekly yoga class. Somehow it's just women, and there's conversation at the beginning. So I have similar cards like this, and we talk, because I'm learning that very few people have safe spaces to connect. So this thing that started off as, it's so funny, somebody said, this is probably the highlight of my week, because I know I'm going to come in here and whatever I share will stay within these walls. So I never miss my yoga class, because first of all, it's just once a week, right? So we'll have the conversations, then we journal, because I realize that very few people actually make time for that. So I always say it's your 1.5 hours for yourself. When you come in here, drop all of the labels, wife, mother, sister, daughter. It's just you and your 90 minutes. And then because I've also had a bit of free time, I was even doing this before, but I'm actively supporting my friends who have businesses and need just some guidance on how do I restructure this, how do I, and I'm not asking anybody for money. It's like, this is how I will support you, because it allows me to also stay sharp. I'm learning about new challenges, how do we navigate this? So I think those two things, teaching my yoga class. I make soap as well. It's skincare in a bar, and I love getting feedback around how it's helping clear up people's skin. People say, because when I created Kinku, it was around the time I went through my first redundancy, and I really needed a place to escape to. So Kinku actually is a nuanced version of a Japanese word that means equilibrium of mind, body, and spirit. Equilibrium is my favorite word. So equilibrium of mind, body, and spirit. And that's what I was seeking when I was going through that challenging period. And so anytime somebody uses a bar and they come back and they say, this bar doesn't smell anything like any bar I've bought from anywhere. I was like, that's exactly what I was looking for. And it's strangely, it's more women than men. When the men use it, they love it, but the women are buying for their husbands. So I would say, or partners or whatever. So teaching my yoga class, business support, and then making handmade luxury soap. So.
It's very inspiring.
Yep.
So you pick which one to answer.
Oh, I like this. How did I nurture my creativity or joy outside of work and responsibilities? Nice. Okay, so I did a similar thing. I tried to support a few friends on their businesses. So yes, I had a break of about 7 months this year, and I did that. I also tried to be present in lives of young girls. Okay, so close friends, their daughters. I have people I look up to. So, Gloria, my daughter wants to do this. My son wants to do this. What do you think? I try to help people in intelligence pyramid roles, and also I try to develop that skill of being a bit, I won't say proper, a bit like have a plan. For me, it's something I've developed this year. Also because I feel like there's more responsibility for me because I'm trying to impact other lives. So if you really impact other lives, you need to also try and put your life together. So that's one thing I think this year I've picked up.
Okay, sorry, can you read it again?
So what risks did I take that paid off? And what risk am I still afraid to take? This has nothing to do with this year, but it's something that I think trickled into, like moving.
Okay.
It was a huge risk, which I didn't know what was going to happen, and it's paying off. Like, this year has been really great for me. So it's something that I'm seeing that it was worth, let me say, the move.
Right.
And the risk I'm still afraid to take is with my business, Ceci. I think that's one of the key things that I am struggling to find my place and to feel confident in the fact that it's something that people like. So people compliment what I make and stuff. I'm like, it's not that deep. In my mind, it's like,
They're taking it for granted.
yeah. Probably that is what it is. So just to take that first step to just make it happen, I've taken a long time to do it, but it's something that is still on my heart. Like every time it comes on my heart, I'm like, girl, this is something you need to do because you can't go for years for this thing to always be on your heart and you're not doing it.
Shall I go?
Oh, you picked your card already.
I picked the card. What new skills or knowledge did I gain and how have they impacted my journey? So for me, because I'm now focused into chocolate making, and I've been doing this for a number of years, but my focus has been on actually making the chocolate. This year has been about creating the business. So going through my certifications and things like that has been a huge learning curve. I got approached by an investor who asked questions and I had to now figure out, oh, I need to know my numbers. I need to know the cost of production. I need to know all of these things. And, you know, asking me, okay, so the farm that you have, how much yield do you expect? I'm like,
I'm just trying to make chocolate.
So I've had to deal with a lot of these things which I didn't really know, even like food safety things, what kind of chemicals to use for, you know, it's just things that were, yeah, like who do people study this? I mean, where? So it's learning by doing. I'm learning a lot of these new areas, which is good.
What in my life do I take for granted, and how can I be more mindful of this gift? So I would say, well, I don't know for sure. Maybe this is me being humble, but I'm often told that I have like an eye for quality, and yeah.
Hospitality.
And for me, and this is something I've heard growing up, like even as a young girl, I used to hear it all the time. And so for me, it's, you know, but in our society, it's almost as if, like,
So
you don't
you're
want
bougie.
to be, exactly, you don't want to be high maintenance. Like, you're just trying to humble yourself and sort of fit in. But in recent times, I really don't care. Like,
What happened? I'm curious about this. I'm sorry, no.
No, it's okay.
That's why I asked that. I asked Nana shared his, but what caused the switch for you?
I just think it was getting to the point where I felt like I was just being inauthentic to myself, right? Like just having to be less of myself so that people can feel okay or I can fit in or whatever. And also that stigma of high maintenance, I didn't want it, right?
What is high maintenance these days?
Yeah, what's high maintenance? If you're maintaining yourself, okay, but like it's good. Like what's high maintenance? What do we define as high maintenance?
Around all the time and they don't even
Is it like having a certain kind of taste? Is it like being in Makosa? Like what is it? Is it like your choice of, I don't know, brands you, I don't know, what is it?
I think it's a lot of things, right? It's like how you carry yourself. It's in the things you like.
Your taste.
Yeah, your taste, right? And oftentimes it's just, you just feel like you're being too much in a lot of ways. But I mean, these days I really don't care. Exactly, I love what I love. If maybe you can't meet the standard or you feel insecure or whatever, exactly, that's a
Deal
you
with that.
problem. It's not me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be less of myself because you can't be your full self or whatever.
You know the funny thing to that, I realized that what people usually qualify you as high maintenance or whatever the word is also based off of what they like. What you consider food as high, like you taking care of yourself and spending your money on. I would also be like, why? I don't want to eat. Like, I don't want to spend my money. I don't want to spend my money on food I can eat by the roadside, but my hair, it has to be quality. Or I would buy bend down clothes, but my bag has to be leather. You know, those nuances come into play, and people are not understanding each other in that level. It's like we always expect people to show up the way we would, and it's not the case.
In a place like Ghana, that can be very hard. Like, because of the kind of comments, even in your own house, my mother, I'm always telling her to stop. She's like, hey, what do you want? Hey, boy. Hey, friend pop with you. Hey, what do you like, you know, they'll say, hey, I saw that you went to this restaurant. Hey, what do you want? Like, you know. But I think the idea is that we all like different things, right? I saw your post recently about what self-care means to you, and you mentioned something about photography. Right. You know, for me, self-care, I want someone to come and squeeze my body. Not like that, but like I want to go to some spa and let someone like Swedish me, you know, hot stone me to, you know, to like have to beg them. You know, and for me, that's self-care. You know, when I saw you sitting by the beach, by the writing, I was like, wow, like must be nice, right? It differs. This girl will go and jump from planes. I only sit in planes because I have to get somewhere. Like, you know, she would do bungee jumping. That's her idea of fun. My idea of fun is go to some new city, go to some museum, which she feels like, why would I waste my money and go to a museum? Why do I want to know about the history of this country, right? And I think we need to get comfortable with liking what we like and being able to, politely or impolitely, depending, telling people to back off when, you know, Ghanaians, when they pass comments to try and make us feel bad. I also find that sometimes you see someone criticizing something you're doing. They don't have the money. I'm being honest. They can't afford it. God, let me be humble. But the point is that you will see them later on when they have the money doing the same thing. You know, you see people criticizing, like business class, it's a waste of money. Caveats, I don't really fly business class, only when my company is paying. But they'll say, at the end of the day, you get to the place at the same time. Not true. Like, the experience is completely different. Yeah. But eventually, when they can afford it, they will be doing it, and they will want people to just accept that they've gotten to that level. So you yourself, you need to get to the point where you dust off the negative comments. Somebody comes and says, hey, as for you, you like buying expensive shoes, so... Like, you need to be able to dust it off. If not, these things will get in your head and you start feeling like, you know, you feel less of yourself. I was greedy, so I picked 3 questions. So if someone can pick one for me, maybe just pick one randomly for me. So you pick the one with the color. Okay. Yeah. Ooh, what's one thing I feared at the start of the year that I now feel more confident about? Ironically, I had imposter syndrome at the beginning of the year. Around a number of things, but primarily Vision with V, which is crazy because I had done the work, right? But I just froze at some point and felt like I didn't have the right to be launching a book about women, which is crazy too, because I've been talking about women, like this is something that's very natural to me, but somehow I just froze because I felt like I just didn't have the right. Like, who are you? Why do you think? I felt like nobody would buy a book. And even like when I did my campaign, I froze again. I didn't want to post it because I was like, it's silly. I really thought it was silly, like, what is this silliness? But I think what helped me was that I decided that I'm just going to have audacity. Because there are people who are way less qualified and they still do stuff, right? And so if I've done the work, I've put in the work, I've been in the space, I've been talking about women for years, I should be able to do it. And what's the worst? So, yeah, I'm a woman. Like, people who are not even women are doing things. So I just decided that I'm going to do it regardless. And I think another thing that helped was, I think maybe if I hadn't taken the stories from the women, it wouldn't have pushed me, because I felt like I would be a letdown. Like, all of these 13 women have been vulnerable enough to share their stories with me to put in a book. And then how dare me decide that I won't publish. So every time I start feeling like, I don't want to do this, I just say, hey, Sarah will ask me questions. I don't want to have to answer those questions. So it kind of pushed me to just do it regardless. And once I posted it, I got some really, really like good feedback both from women and men. I keep saying that this is giving me a different perspective of men. Because I think that I know this is not about men, yes, we're very hard on men, right? Men in our society. But a good chunk of the books that are purchased by men. Someone said they're buying for their side chicks. I said, that's also okay. Not the side chick part, but the fact that they are supporting some other person's career, right? And aside that, I've also had some men really send me very touching messages, some that I know, but some who don't even know me, right? I was telling someone yesterday that a guy reached out to me saying he really loves what I'm doing, and he paid me to mentor his girlfriend. Aww. He actually offered me money just to mentor his girlfriend. So I feel like that has kind of given me a different perspective that I'm not fine. Yes, it's a business. There's money involved. I have to make money from it. But I think that the purpose of what I'm doing has kind of transcended just the making money, and that's the thing. It was the thing I feared most, but that's kind of the thing as the same. I'm rambling. The same thing that has made me feel more confident, realizing that people are finding value in what I've created, both men and women. That has just catapulted my confidence and has also taught me that even when I'm afraid, I should just go ahead and keep doing it. So thanks, this was a good round. So I just want you to tell me a bit what your experience has been with Vision with V. Like, honestly, be honest with me. Don't feel like you need to say all the nice things. I would love to know even the feedback, the things that for you hasn't worked so well, and how you use the book, what your experience has been, what your first impressions, all of that. Yeah.
For me, I think I said it earlier. It made me start writing again, because I think about 10 years or 11 years ago, I started writing. And then I don't know why, I somehow thought it wasn't important or it wasn't there. I just left it. But then when I got this book and I started reading, that very night, I started writing. And my husband was so happy because he's always telling me, write, you have so much experience, write. But I never put anything down. So for me, it's really like a change in my life. It brought a big change.
Obviously, this is excellent body of work. It's gorgeous, it's intentional, like everything about it, you know. Not just this, all of its extensions, like getting all of us here, that beautiful box that we got. I haven't written in mine because it's too pretty. So what I do is I transfer all of my journaling to my other journals and my other planner. But this, I feel like I'm going to keep it for my daughter.
I'll give you another one.
No, I can't. Like, I can't write in it. Like, I tried. So I just went back to my paper blanks. Okay, this is what I'm supposed to. So when you said we're going to have to read, I said, oh, she's going to think I don't like it. But it's only because I don't want to mess it up. Seriously.
I'm going to be calling you every week.
But no, I am using. I'm just not writing in it. So I'm transferring whatever it is I need to into my planner and then my other journals. But thank you for doing it. Like it's like the Lord's work. And I don't think that women spend enough time with themselves. And this is a way to cultivate that. So creating that for other people and for all of us has been great. So thank you for doing this.
I would like to say that this is probably one of the most intentional books that I have. So funny story is I used to journal as a kid until my mother read my
The ones you put the padlocks on.
girl. Actually, it wasn't just my mom and my dad. I know. But since
You read it together?
yes. But having this book brought me back to that point where, you know, like she was saying, I would have time with myself, and now I have time with myself. And I like the way you structured the goals, right? It's not just one-sided. You're looking at it holistically. And so for me, it also puts things into perspective, because even, you know, in goal setting previously, maybe I would have goals for, let's say, my career, but
Right.
not like my well-being.
Okay.
You know, so having to look at everything in that 360, it's beautiful and it's intentional. Thank you for doing this.
It's the same. Also, only time I journaled was as a kid, the Dear Diary and all the trash talking about my siblings. But so with the journal, I mean, what I really appreciate is the structure and the framework. You know, otherwise it would be very difficult for me to just to sit and write. I'm not really wired that way, so I need kind of prompts, and this really helps me. So I've gone through like the self-care bit of it we spoke about. And there are also other things where I've seen them and I still need to reflect. I'm like, okay. Yeah, but it's like at work, I'm very reflective. We sit with my team and we think about what went right, what didn't. My personal life, I don't do that at all.
Yeah.
And
It doesn't come natural.
it doesn't come natural. And so a simple question of, but what went right last month, or I have to really think, you know. And I think it's good to have a practice of also checking in with myself, because I'm the type that I may not even be doing well, but I don't know because I just getting things done. But if I even took 10 minutes just to check in, I'm like, you know, today has actually been hard, you know. So relax. Maybe you don't need to do X, Y, Z. Relax. Don't feel, you know. And so I'm just really glad to have this kind of framework, and I love the stories, you know. I mean, and I thought, I should have been a bit more deep in my stories. Shared a bit more. It's like, oh wow, people are so open, and I mean, your story was, wow, I didn't, know all of that. So it's good to have all this in one place. It's a really nice reference book, and yeah, I mean, I also don't want to go through it too quickly, so I'm going to, say I'm writing. I'm writing in mind, but
I have several.
oh, nice.
Several journals.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, I feel like I brought all of you here to tell me nice things. I could get used to this. No, but it's really encouraging to hear this. And I think for me, what I'm trying to do, I don't know where Vision with V is going to go, but what I'm trying to do is change a certain mindset, and get women to connect with themselves, because that has worked for me a lot, but also connect with other women, right? We're not connecting enough with other women, and I mean this in the physical sense, but also in an emotional sense. Even if you don't meet people physically, you get to read about their stories, and that's one of the things that I wanted to champion with Vision with V. So I'm actually very grateful that it is actually working. And hopefully I should be able to do another one. We started working on the other. I always say we, but that's just literally me, right? My husband was offended last time when I said it's just me. So we, the Indones, yes, true. The tribe has started working on the second edition, which I pray and hope that would be amazing. But I mean, considering that Vision with V is the goal setting and vision journal for ambitious African women. Lunch is almost ready, but I wanted to just kind of wrap up the conversation by talking about our goals, both what we achieved this year and what our plans for the future. By future, I mean immediate future, what our plans for next year are. You know, we are getting to the end of the year, and so I want you to tell me what are the things that you are most proud of from this year, and what are you looking forward to in terms of your goals, if you are open to sharing, in the coming year. What are some of the things that you're working on that you're excited about? Okay.
So this was when I started putting down what my achievements were this year. Funny enough, it had nothing to do with the goals I had initially set. And yeah, life happens and makes you reflect on what is really important. And one thing I realized was the thing I'm most proudest of this year is honoring my mom and making her smile. Because yes, it's a interesting thing. She turned 60 this year. Yeah. Novisi and I, she helped me plan a party. I was in Netherlands, and Novisi took control of everything that happened on their 60th birthday. And the joy she had that day, I think that if she were to pass even today, God forbid, I would feel so great that I was able to honor her in that way. And to see that day, I wasn't here physically, but when you just see the mood and everyone's testimony of my mom, it was the most beautiful thing. And beyond everything I wrote as a goal that has been achieved, I think this is the one that means more to me because she's currently not well. And it even makes it more special that it happened the way it did. It was as if I just felt like, hey, you don't have as much time. Just take, like you said about Olga, right? Like, just with the time that you have with people in your life, show them that you care, show up for them. And it's gonna go into next year for me that making time for people that mean a lot to me, I think that I should treasure that even more than all the other things. There will be goals, but this is more important for me than anything.
Wow, that's deep. What about the future? Like, what are you planning? What's the most interesting thing that you are planning to do next year, goal-wise?
So goal-wise, this is something that I want to do together with my husband is to get a new home. And yes, it's it's important, and I think it's a big deal. And this is one thing we want to set our hearts to, and I'm all for it as well.
Can you guys get it by April? Because I'm planning to. It will help my travel plans. You know.
Well, yeah. Oh, for me, one of the biggest things I've achieved this year is bouncing back from a setback. For me, it's a big thing. Which step back and setback? Context, please. It's just a lot of things happened last year. I said a bit of it. Okay. Dealing with my health because of a pregnancy, dealing with a growth-restricted child, trying to find health, okay, and good support for this because I didn't know how. I actually didn't know how survived actually my life. I thought I don't want to use the word, right? But then at the end of the day, and also a week two, when I was struggling with this baby, a week two, you get an email to say your job is no longer available. Not because I was sick, but it's just because the company was trying to just change focus and who else got that. So for me, it was big. And this year, first of the year I was home, I took opportunity to make sure I bond with my family. I try. So bouncing back for me, when people see me, maybe they don't know what I've been through last year. But for me, it's a big thing for me. I look back at, I still have sometimes tears. Like, really, was I here? And today I'm here to be talking to you, great woman. And it's a big thing for me. And I'm so proud of myself. And I will use this opportunity anytime to tell all young women, any woman I find, that there's so much in you you can achieve. And don't relent. And bounce back quickly because nobody will help you yourself. And then also rely on other people around you, the people you trust.
Hey, what's a bro? Don't relent. They don't give up. What's a bro?
Next year,
Okay.
making money.
Please call me. It's a very good goal.
I think more of the big takeaway than the goal, right, is to meet both joy and grief for the same level of enthusiasm. I think I was saying to Norisi a few months ago that the first part of the year was fantastic, and then there's just, like Nana said, it just slid. But is that a reflection on me, or is it just like? And how do I navigate that in a way where I'm preparing myself for a repeat future? Because it will happen. So that for me was like my biggest takeaway. Learn to meet both. And even to find the words to articulate that took me a while. Until going into 2025, said, okay, we can have our plans, but also allow some room for the magic of surprise.
Yeah, right. The magic of surprise.
I love her words like an ad.
Yeah. The magic of surprise. I'll keep that. Like I think I would say the biggest thing I've achieved this year, truthfully, was launching Vision with V. Not even because maybe everyone, like most of the people are happy about it and I made money, but I feel like I got out of my way. Like I remember when I started talking about this idea, it was really just a, fleeting idea in my head. And I am actually proud of myself for taking the idea, sticking to the plan, because while trying to put it together, there were people saying, oh, a book in this day and age, why don't you do an e-journal? What, African, you want to put African prints for what? Like, it didn't cry. Like, it just seemed ridiculous. Then you want to add women's stories. Of course, like my tribe was very supportive. They were like, that's such an awesome idea. But I just love that I kind of stuck, even when other people couldn't see the vision, I was able to trust my judgment, and I stuck to doing it the exact way I wanted to do it, because I really believe that is actually what has taken it. That's what is even making this thing hard to contain, right? Because it's more than a book. I always say that it's more than a journal, right? It's a movement, so to speak. And so I'm proud that I got out of my own way, because there are a lot of ideas that never left my notepad. So that's what I'm proud of, that I actually got out of my own way and I got it done. And I think another thing I'm proud of is that I let things burn. Like what I mean is that, honestly, like I said, I didn't have enough energy for certain things, like because there are a lot of trade-offs. And so I stopped overextending myself completely. I've always been the person who I really go out of my way for things and for people. And this year, I just decided not to do any of that, right? And it just meant that a lot of things got bent. And I'm like, yeah, cool, okay. But once it didn't affect my mental health, I was fine. And I'm also proud of that, just accepting that it is what it is. Like, life happens, and yeah, it happens, So those are the two things that I'm mostly proud of. And in the coming year, I do want some growth in my career. If my boss is listening, I'll send this to him. I really do want some growth. Yes, I've taken all the advice about just getting the depth and all of that. But truthfully, I need some growth and some more money. So I will keep campaigning for that with my boss. He's been very supportive. I have to add that because performance reviews coming. So that's, but I mean, all jokes aside, I am planning to do a second edition of Vision with V. I've been working on it. I've been working on it like casually for the last couple of months, even before I launched the first one, imagine. But I think that now that the year is ending, now that I know that it takes a very long time to produce this, I need to really get out of my way again and get it done. I don't want to be distracted by all of the nice things everyone is saying and the fact that people are buying. That's all nice, but I think that in our society, sometimes we get distracted by that. We start feeling like we've arrived, and then we lose the plot. So I'm trying to be very intentional about, getting the job done, and I'm also very excited for the stories that are going to be in the next one. I have the full list of all the women. Most of them have said yes. So we've started working on it, and I really look forward to that. I think that's probably going to be the highlight of my next year. And you will all be invited to the launch. I don't know where it will be, but yeah, So yeah, like for me, that's pretty much sums up my achievement and my plan for next year.
The highlight of my year was going back to school. It was something I had thought about for a very long time, talked about for a very long time, but it was having the courage to actually, leave my job, leave my family, leave my friends, pack up and go to another country for some time, and to get all that knowledge and all that experience, and even making the decision to come back, because once it's almost as if all that exposure opens certain doors.
Yeah, it's
right?
like reverse
Exactly.
jackpot, jackpot back.
And so making that decision that I'm not taking this experience elsewhere. I'm bringing it here. You know, it was a very fulfilling decision. And what I'm most excited about is probably preparing for my next roles, or like the growth opportunities that are available to me, especially in the sector that I'm in.
Hospitality.
You know, it tends to be a very, should I say, foreign, you know, you tend to have quite a number of foreigners being in certain positions just because of the nature of the industry, right? Exactly. But to be, for example, a Ghanaian, and, you know, have certain ambition to go into certain roles. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to be one of the very few Ghanaians championing the fact that we can do certain things. Right. So I'm excited for that. That's on the professional front. On the entrepreneurial front, I'm excited to expand my business. This year was phenomenal, even though I was away. My team held it down, and I should say I'm proud of my team. There are so many opportunities for growth for us, and we are actively looking at expanding Q1.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I love that.
This past year highlights traveling.
Okay.
I think I knew early on in the beginning of this year that my life was going to change professionally. I was not going to stay where I was. And I was also dealing with, you know, the loss in our family. And I just didn't want the year to be all gloom and doom. So my son and I, we went to 10 countries. We just
Oh, wow.
Love that for you.
It's really exciting, and he's also really at the age where he will go to museums, he will do the stuff I also like, you know, which is, so that was really fun. We look at his pictures from time to time, and it was really, really great. So happy about that, happy that, you know, despite the setback, there's still things I will look at this year and be like, it was fantastic. Going forward, I'm going to be careful with money. I need to start saving, rebuilding everything that I've spent. Professionally, I'm now mindful of, you know, the difference between, say, a manager and a leader, that type of thing. I've been in management. I'm thinking a lot about leadership, and I want to work more in this area, you know, be more of an effective leader, but also groom leaders.
Okay.
Yes. So this is something that I'm really, really mindful and passionate about. And on the entrepreneurial, I want my business to get off the ground. I have plans to build on the farm, and I have now this really nice business plan, potential investors and things like that, and I'm hoping that will be the year where we get things. I get my bars in the supermarkets, my chocolate bars and things like that.
And we'll tell everyone who will listen. Even if they won't listen, we'll tell them about Talking Drum, right? Talking Drum chocolates, okay, so it's been an amazing afternoon just sharing with these wonderful ladies. I've learned a lot, which is what happens when you spend time with very knowledgeable women. And we've reflected on how our year has gone. This is going to help us as we plan for the future, as we plan our goals for 2025. And we've also celebrated our achievements. And now we are doing the most important thing, which is eating. I hope that as this year is coming to a close, you take the time to reflect on the year, learn from your mistakes, celebrate your successes and your wins. It's very important. And just use whatever insights you've gained to plan your goals for 2025, set your visions, and just understand that you can do everything you put your mind to. And yeah, enjoy.